Listen, feel however you feel about Zionism. It's identity politics. Like that is the definition of you could not find a better example of a politics built on an identity. And yet you're out here saying facts don't care about your feelings. Identity politics is wrong. And then while you're saying that, your number one priority is this manifestation of identity politics. You can only keep that charade going for so long.
No, it's totally true.
Before someone sees through it.
What's up, folks? It's your boy Toby, and you are welcome to the Toby Show. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do that. Subscribe to this channel. Watch these videos, leave a like, leave a comment, and share these videos with your friends. So Dave Smith was on the Carlson podcast. Great conversation. I absolutely love it when these two people come together. Oh my God. You go what I mean? But in this episode, you can tell that Dave Smith came. He came with fire, bro. You go what I mean? And in this reaction, we're going to be talking about how he went in on Ben Shapiro and accused him of playing identity politics. You go what I mean? And this is the same Ben Shapiro that said that, facts do not care about your feelings. But then he accused Ben Shapiro of actually playing identity politics with Zionism.
Look, I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right? Ben Shapiro built a career opposing identity politics as a proud Zionist. Yeah. Listen, feel however you feel about Zionism. It's identity politics. That is the definition of you could not find a better example of a politics built on an identity. And yet you're out here saying facts don't care about your feelings. Identity politics is wrong. And then while you're saying that, your number one priority is this manifestation of identity politics.
I'm not going to lie, I got introduced to Ben Shapiro a couple years ago, and he was one of my favorite guys to watch. I don't know if you saw the back and forth he had with the transgender guy. That was so beautiful to watch, right? So that was how I got introduced to him with the whole facts don't care about your feelings thing, right? Now, post October 7th, and just understanding how this whole Zionism thing works, you just realize these people are basically doing the same thing that they accuse the Democrats, the BLM people of doing. Literally the same thing.
You can only keep that charade going for so long.
No, it's totally true.
Before someone sees through it.
There's something in people that the lowest part of people that instinctively accuses others of doing what they're doing. And I've never really, that's one thing I don't want to be, is a guy who does that. But I remember Bill Kristol, who I worked for years and really liked and was grateful to, and he was a great boss in the 90s, and came out against me and called me a Nazi and all this stuff, like without calling me. By the way, I called him and asked him to lunch. He refused. He wouldn't go to lunch with me. End of our relationship. But one of the criticisms against me, I'll never forget it when I realized this phenomenon was real, was when he accused me of advocating, and I'm quoting, for an ethno-state. Now, I have a lot of flaws. They're all on display. I've never wanted an ethno-state. And it's like, wait, one of us is for an ethno-state, and it's not me. But you just said that, like, of all the possible criticisms.
It's just...
Shot fired. For people that don't know what he's talking about Israel, because that gentleman, obviously, he advocates for Israel and everything, and everybody knows, the Israelis always want to come out and say, oh, this is the only democracy in the Middle East. No, you get what I'm saying? They operate based on their Jewish and Zionism values and everything. They put that sometimes over the rule of the state. Literally. I've seen the documentaries, I've watched that, and it's crazy.
Too unbelievable. I mean, it's like you just
Bill
like
Kristol accusing me of wanting an ethno-state.
But you just like you almost like you can't even respond. You just have to go like,
it's like I didn't say anything. I was like, okay,
right, yeah.
People can't hear themselves. I mean, when people get old, they tell the same stories, and you just when you love them, you're indulgent. But I just hope that doesn't happen to me. I hope I don't lose all self-awareness to the point where I've got like lunch on my chin and like accuse other people of doing exactly what I'm doing.
Yes,
exactly what I'm doing.
Well, you're going, you have lunch on your chin. Like, you don't want to be there.
I don't want to be that guy.
And I think that there's like, look, obviously, like we're living through something, we're probably living through several things that are very profound, but one of the most profound things has been this revolution in information and the technology, and it's led to this like kind of mass decentralization of media.
Yes.
And where there's now like there's so many things and shows and different voices. I find people all the time who I've never heard of before, and I'm sure you've had this experience too. You'll find someone, you'll be like, oh, that guy's actually really smart. People should know about this guy.
Really smart.
How many followers? 7 million. Oh, he's got 7 million followers. Oh, he's huge. Like, I just found some guy who is bigger than anyone on cable news, and I didn't even know he existed, And so now it's just because of this dynamic, there aren't, as the corporate media apparatus, like big newspapers and big cable news shows and things, was very controlled. Very controlled. The range of allowable opinion was very narrow. It's what my good friend and brilliant historian Tom Woods always called the 3x6 card of allowable opinion.
Exactly.
You get this little area of allowable opinion, and then that's where the conversation takes place. That's been shattered into a million pieces. And now there's voices from all over the place, and some good and some great and some bad and really bad. But it's just much harder for people to, that control existed so that you don't get exposed, so that you could go like, look, even the right winger, John McCain, agrees. Or even the far left activist Nancy Pelosi. I mean, it's like, dude, I have to hear
or
Hannity.
AOC.
Dude, Sean Hannity goes, the far left Nancy Pelosi. And it's like, how many leftists have you actually talked to in your life? How many leftists have you ever read? You think Nancy Pelosi's a far leftist? Like, really?
Living on her vineyard in Napa?
Yes. All these different, these different tools of corporations are left and right. But so that's over now. And now I think it's much tougher to keep this charade going. And
it seems to be collapsing so fast.
Yes. And it's not, again, you could be honest.
And to me, that's one reason why, regardless of how you feel about Elon Musk, right? He played a very pivotal role, a very vital role, right? In dismantling censorship, you go what I mean, and just promoting free speech. Now, I'm not saying he's perfect, but once he bought X, a lot of people's voices came out. You go what I mean? Because before that time, people were getting canceled left and right. People were getting censored and everything because they realized that the mainstream media was losing power, right? And obviously the social media was gaining a lot of steam, a lot of power, and the powers that be clearly did not like that. Because for centuries, for decades, we have gotten our news, whether from newspaper or from the TV, and they tell you what they want you to hear, and they program you. Now, social media has now come about. People are now telling the truth. We are now finding out what happened with 9/11. We are now finding out what happened with the wars in the Middle East and everything, and clearly they don't like that. You get what I'm saying?
About it and kind of maintain some of your respect. But the truth is that, like, look, even when they'll say these things, like if you accuse Ben Shapiro of having dual loyalty, they go, oh, that's an anti-Semitic trope. That means you hate the Jews. But then he'll sit there in his own words and say, I forget his exact quote, but it was something like, my favorite thing about the United States of America is that it protects Israel.
Facts.
And so you're already saying you have loyalty to both of these countries. In fact, I'm not so sure about one of the loyalties, but I'm very sure about the other one.
Yeah.
And that is not, I'm sorry, that's not a statement against Jewish people. I'm Jewish. I love Jewish people. It's like I get called a self-hating Jew on Twitter or whatever. It could not be further from the truth. I actually really love Jewish people.
The thing is, they do that to shut you down. You know what I mean? Every group, well, I wouldn't say every group does that. I'm black. And I see it all the time. It's sometimes even with black people doing a conversation, and if they know that they are losing the conversation, they want to call you, oh, this person is being racist and all this kind of stuff. And I can recognize that when I see that. The same thing, some of the Jewish people, they do that. When they know that they are losing the conversation, or when they know that you're getting or when they know that you're exposing them, they call you anti-Semitic. And if it's a Jew person, they say that, oh, the person is a self-hating Jew, because that's what they say about Dave Smith all the time. So it is a tactic that they use to shut you down. They have so many buzzwords out there, whether it's misogyny, whether it's, this person is an abuser, or this and that and that. They use those buzzwords, to shut you down. But when you recognize them tactics, you have to maneuver through those buzzwords and still tell them the truth.
There's many things about Jewish culture that have, had a huge impact on me, made me the person I am, made me a better person for their impact on me. But this is a foreign government. Like, I'm sorry. We're allowed to talk about that. If I saw Glenn Beck the other day had Douglas Murray on, and Glenn Beck wasn't like mean to me personally, but which I appreciated. But he was just going, it was just so ridiculous. But it's like, we're sitting here, we're having a conversation about a foreign government. You started crying on your show talking about this foreign government. That's fucking weird. That's weird. We should not be doing that. What the hell is going on here? Like, I don't even think you should cry about our own government, but if you're going to cry about one, it should be ours.
And no one would even think to cry about it.
Right. Come on. Like, let's have a real conversation about this. And if you don't, especially, and by the way, this is not my primary goal. My primary goal is to tell the truth and to advocate for what's good for our country. But if you're concerned about like the young men getting a little bit too radical and being too obsessed with the Jews or too against the Jews, which I do think is a legit concern.
It definitely is.
That's not good for you. And it's not good for you. It's not good for the conflict. It's not good for the country. I just don't think any of racial collectivism always leads to bad places.
I agree.
You don't want to embrace that stuff. But if you're concerned about that, well, then the first thing you have to do is tell the truth.
True.
You can't keep lying to people, and you can't keep sitting here and going like, "Oh, no, the neoconservative." You can't say neoconservative, right? Isn't that Mark Levin? Didn't he just say if it's the neoconservative?
Mark Levin.
Yeah, man. Everything that he said is true, man. Literally, everything he said is true. These people, they are being dishonest in their tactics. They accuse you of the same thing that they are doing. You go, every single one of them. And it's so funny to watch right now. Because the same people that accuse the Democrats, the liberals, of being, the woke left and playing identity politics and everything, they are doing the same thing on the right now. Literally. They are for censorship of speech right now because people are commenting about what Israel is doing in Gaza now. And these are the people that were against the left for doing the same exact thing just last year. Just last year. But that's to tell you how human beings are. For the most part, human beings are hypocrites. If it benefits them, they will use it. If it doesn't benefit them, they will criticize it. And that's what people like Ben Shapiro are doing. And I'm happy that he's getting called out right now. You get what I'm saying? But let me know your thoughts. Put your comments in the comment section. Is your boy Toby. Watch these videos. Leave a like. Leave a comment. And obviously share these videos with your friends. Until next time. Salute.